Death Stranding 2 is cool.
Expedition 33 is pretty cool.
Well, I was like, there's something very magical about Death Stranding just as a franchise, in the sense of it's Kojima.
Mm-hmm. It's Del Toro.
Well,
Just the first one.
No, I'm getting to that part.
Oh,
and all his games are really weird. Anyways, like Metal Gear is really weird. Everything's weird. It's all
I never
weird.
really thought about Metal Gear being weird, but the more I because I've never played them, but the more I learn about the lore.
Oh, okay,
and
yes, like
they're not, they are weird, but they're not.
Well, this would like
you know
Metal
what I mean?
Gear,
Yeah.
like one of the camouflage things is like a box, like you can hide.
Yeah.
And then the bad guys will just watch.
There's a fun quirk to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it lives in this weird little world that is Metal Gear.
Yeah.
But it extrapolates into something else in Death Stranding because not only is it just his weird little world that he's made with these weird monsters and it's this, but it takes so many real world elements, like the music. The music is great, and it does this really great cinematic thing, you know, where you're walking up to the base and the camera automatically pans out into this long shot, and then little song title comes up and who it's by, courtesy of these records, and it just becomes like this little music video. You're like, that's cool. And then you're like, da, 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 and you're doing the thing. You turn the corner and there's Del Toro. And he's like, oh no, I am Dead Man. And because it's not even just like the voice actor. It's Del Toro.
Yeah.
And he's got the red suit and the scar from some kind of brain surgery on his head. And the fact that it's all really real people puts it into our world in a different way.
You know, okay.
You know what I mean?
And I'm feeling the weird same thing with Expedition 33 because
of the modeling.
Everyone is modeled off of an actual actor, but it's not that actor. And I'm kind of curious how they got away with it.
Well, maybe what was that game that got in trouble for doing that?
I don't know.
I can't remember. Never mind. I can't remember any of the details. But it's like, it just makes it so, like, instead of being in this weird little bubble of a Del Toro made up world, it is now.
It's a Kojima made up world.
But like, yeah, sorry.
It's both of them together.
But like, it now just brings it home.
Yeah.
To such a level. It's just so weird, but it's so fun.
Well, and like, that's kind of like, hey, we're running a little long on this intro, because like I want to. It's interesting you bring that up because like one of the things about Expedition 33, regardless of like how everyone is, like, you know, Robert Pattinson and Pierce Brosnan and it looks like Gemma Chan, I think is who Lune is based off of, but anybody who is like a hardcore JRPG fan and player, they lean hard into making fun of the tropes, like in a way, like they call out like, oh yeah, isn't this supposed to be the thing that happens here? Like as their expedition is going on, and it's just kind of like they're calling it out, but then they flip it on its head and do the inverse of it in a very well crafted way. It's actually, I think it's quirky in a JRPG, making fun of JRPGs while still being a great JRPG. It's Scream.
It's Stab.
Yeah. It's fun, but we should probably get started.
This is Tommy.
This is Jake. This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape. Mein Führer.
Bold.
Welcome back.
Bold move. Welcome back to TJ's Mixtape. I'm Tommy. That's Jacob over there. We are a movie review podcast. We're two very long-time friends. We like talking about movies. So we made a show about talking about movies, who made them, who's in them, kind of some themes and ideas of it. And at the end of it, we give it a rating. The rating is arbitrary, but it's a nice little way to end the episode.
It ends it. It puts an ending. A button.
At the end of every episode, we play a little game. We pick two actors, and we find a way to connect them via other co-stars and films that they were in together.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
At the end of this episode, we'll pick two other people, but last week's was Rachel McAdams to Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah. Did you get it?
I did.
All right. Me, you, me, you.
How long? Is yours long?
Not really.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So I got Rachel McAdams is in The Notebook with Ryan Gosling, who's in Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell, who's in Little Miss Sunshine with Paul Dano, who's in There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis.
We basically
have the kind of the same one.
Rachel McAdams is in Mean Girl with Tina Fey. Tina Fey is in Date Night with Steve Carell. Steve Carell's in Little Miss Sunshine, Paul Dano.
Yep. So
I knew Little Miss Sunshine was going to be the connector
because of Paul Dano.
there's just enough that is enough of a mixed cast of very different people.
Well, I mean, but you also like the key thing to this game is you got to get that co-star that's in other things with, especially someone like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like,
yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is Little Miss Sunshine has so many different walks of life, actors and generations that I was like, there's someone in there that's connected to Daniel Day-Lewis, because then Daniel Day-Lewis has a very odd career.
I was originally trying to maybe get like through Leo with Gangs of New York. You know, because I feel like there's a way you could do it quick. You could get a connection to Rachel McAdams to Leonardo DiCaprio. And now that I'm saying this, I feel like I could have maybe done one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and from Lincoln, because Joseph Gordon-Levitt he plays Lincoln's son. And then is Winona Ryder in The Crucible?
With Gangs of New York, you have Cameron Diaz. Which could probably link to Rachel McAdams somehow.
Because they're comedic.
Rom-com-y thing. I just can't think of any Cameron Diaz movies.
I mean, we're not. I mean, we could do just do it right now off the spot, but I don't really
want to do that.
Sometimes it happens like magic, and other times we're just like, This one kind of popped off like magic for me. Actually.
This one did too. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's actually a lot, because I thought it was going to be more difficult.
Yeah, same, 100% same. Yeah. At the end of the episode, we will get 2 different new actors, and then you guys can play along with us again if you've been playing along, and if not, then let's get into the movie.
So this is episode 249. We are doing 1964's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Love the Atomic Bomb.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
What is it?
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. I just did an acronym because it was so long.
It's Dr. Strangelove or : How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
That makes more sense.
I kept reading it over and over and over again, so I memorized it because I kept saying, I've been saying it wrong all of my entire life, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this down. I'm going to get this fucking down. So, yeah. Just to start it off, it is now officially the oldest movie we have reviewed, knocking Planet of the Apes out of there, which Planet of the Apes feels so antiquated next to this movie. 4 years apart. Yeah. Did you like it?
I did. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, so did I. I really, really liked it. I very quickly was able to see how this is one of the most influential movies in cinematic history, especially for people like the Coen brothers and even like Wes Anderson and whatnot. I was just like, yep, I see all of it, because this movie is 61 years old, and it feels like in a lot of senses that it could have been released in the last decade.
Yeah.
Like, cinematic wise, writing wise, performance wise, it's just I mean, that's why I fucking love Kubrick, dude. Great movies that can transcend time in a weird way. So great. But this came out technically January 29th, 1964. There's no box office to look at. But did you find any type of 1964 movie list to see what other movies from 64 you may have seen?
I did, and I forgot it.
There's only 2 movies that I've seen from 1964 also.
Goldfinger and A Fistful of Dollars.
There you go. Mine is My Fair Lady, and I already forgot what the other one was, but it was on the list.
Oh, and Mary Poppins.
Oh, Mary Poppins. Yeah, Mary Poppins. Yep.
So 3. I win.
And My Fair Lady is like I've seen the live production of it. I've directed the live production of it. I've seen the movie. Yeah. My Fair Lady is, very iconic for someone in the theater world. Any other like little snippets, or do you want to just get into? Oh, did you?
Not yet.
Oh, you didn't do the synopsis.
Quick little synopsis for those that haven't seen it. A mad U.S. general attempts to start a nuclear war with Russia to protect U.S. citizens' fluids.
Yeah. From the Ruskies.
From the Ruskies.
I like that word.
Ruskies?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Is it politically correct anymore?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so. I just
But also don't think people from Russia are going to be like, don't call me. They'd be like, please don't call me that. I don't think they're going to be like, how dare they call me that? You know? Actually, they might call themselves Ruskies, honestly. I don't know. I'm not Russian. Get out of here, fly.
It's generally considered derogatory and offensive in English-speaking contexts.
Cool. We're going to keep saying it. Not really. We'll stop saying it now. I don't know. It might come out. Why would we even say it? I didn't say anything. Who are you? Who am I? This movie was directed by Stanley Kubrick.
I didn't realize he died in 99.
Oh, yeah.
A long time ago.
He died like right after the release of Eyes Wide Shut.
I don't know why. I knew he was dead, but I didn't realize he was like that dead.
Like 26 years dead?
Yeah, it's like a crude way of saying that.
Like that dead?
Like that dead.
It's like, man. That's a fun way to antiquate death, though, is like as time as being like a physical amount, like that much is that much dead.
Yeah. But yeah, for those that don't know, Stanley Kubrick did such movies as 2001: A Space Odyssey, Lolita, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, as you said, Eyes Wide Shut,
A Clockwork Orange.
I didn't realize he did Lolita.
Yeah,
I never seen the original one. I've seen clips of it, and I saw the Jeremy Irons one.
Yeah, the Jeremy Irons one was a Showtime original movie, I want to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Peter Sellers is actually in the Lolita one, the Stanley Kubrick one. But it was still it's like towards the end and like in the height of the Hays Code. So the way that he was like insinuated the relationships it's a lot more subtle and like in camera tricks of stuff. But still very much Humphrey is falling in love with a 14-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the most odd thing in Stanley Kubrick's career is Spartacus. It just it's a war epic biopic. No, you're not but you know. But I just always felt like, I mean, it's a great movie. I've seen it.
It's crazy that he's only done like 16, 17 movies.
Well, I mean, because I'm an artist. I'm pretty sure he was horrible to have dinner parties with.
Oh, he was probably a
nightmare
human being.
But yeah, his first 3 films, which I always thought The Killing was his first film, but he had 2 films before that. Yeah, his first 3 films, they're more, because it was the 50s, it was the tail end of the noir era, so like he was doing like he was fucking around with the noir genre, and by fucking around I mean like actually like experimenting with it.
Well, because even here too, it's like on his 16 credits, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has 5 out of his movies that are under 7 on IMDb.
Yeah, under 7.
Yeah,
and our
Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange is under 7?
No. I'm just saying. Sorry, that was 2 different thoughts melding into one. No. What's Barry Lyndon? An Irish rogue with the heart of rich widow as soon as her dead husband is in a position.
That's like
Jesus. That's 3 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
God damn.
What's crazy is Stanley Kubrick, since Dr. Strangelove and minus The Shining, every one of his films he was nominated for Best Director, and the film itself was nominated for Best Picture, and he never won one. Like, it's crazy. For the most influential filmmaker to come out of like the 20th century, like he had never won an Oscar. I think it's crazy. But what's crazy is when you go back, people always retroactively look back on his films and they're like, yeah, this is like one of the best films ever made. How is this not winning Oscars? He was a dude that was really ahead of his time. He really was. Even like Orson Welles has a comment about Stanley Kubrick, and Orson Welles talking about like how in working, like if everyone like I forgot the quote, but it's essentially like working with everyone seems like an equal. Kubrick is the only one that feels like a giant in the industry. For Orson Welles to fucking say that, I think is crazy. If you guys don't know who Orson Welles is, he was like one of the most influential filmmakers of the from the 1920s, 30s. He made Citizen Kane, which is regarded one of the best films ever made of all time.
Yeah. Wells calling him a giant among younger generation of filmmakers. He even suggested that Kubrick was a better director than John Hudson, a filmmaker Wells deeply admired.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's Stanley Kubrick. And so he was a writer on this, but this movie, I guess we maybe could have started with that. This is based off of a book written by Peter George, who has also worked with Kubrick to make this screenplay for Dr. Strangelove. The book is called Red Alert.
Published in 1958.
Yeah. And the book, it's like the exact same scenario of like a war general causing this nuclear attack to happen on Russia, but it's a lot more of this. It's like a serious tone. It's like, oh shit, like it's like a drama. Like we got to stop the bombs from happening type thing. And I don't know, Kubrick just saw this, read this book, and originally he realized while he was writing the screenplay that, oh, this is a dark comedy actually.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so crazy to kind of take this kind of like serious notion of like, what if someone in the U.S. Army or a military was able to get some nuclear warheads to drop without the president's permission, and that's a terrifying.
Without
thought.
Going through the chain of command.
Yeah, without the proper chain of command, like found a loophole in everything to surpass this chain of command. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a terrifying thought.
Well, that's why it got a lot of controversy, too, because it seemed like people didn't really want to think about that.
Which is also why the studios kind of forced nobody in this film is supposed to be
I was wondering about that. I was like, that's really odd.
Yeah. They're like, no, this isn't there's no likeness of anybody supposed to be interpreted literally or whatever. It's not based off of any specific kind of person or anything.
And this is all just like, me making up a narrative kind of thing. But it's like, it's funny to think they took the movie because there's a couple interesting things about this movie, but that one.
Yeah.
Because also about the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
So that also has to do with the Kennedy assassination that happened like right when the film was going to be released.
Yeah. The first screening was,
and they had to change a couple things like, shit. You know, it's like kind of like when they changed that scene in Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, yeah.
From an airplane into a spaceship.
Oh,
and they took it out of downtown, the city, and then put it, they changed that whole thing like, like, no, pull back. But that is really funny. But yes, this movie is very...
Well, yeah, on that as well, the studios were afraid of releasing it because they were afraid that it felt too anti-American.
Because it is.
It is, but Kubrick was able to, Finnegan was like, no, it's just a play on everything. It's not anti-American at all.
It's anti-government.
It's anti-establishment.
Yeah.
Anti-establishment.
Because it's making fun.
It's making fun of the the established organization of a military or of a whatever.
It's kind of more making fun of that, the military,
the political leadership.
Yeah. This movie is basically like as soon as the credits rolled, I was like, this is how Fallout happened.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
The Fallout series.
Yeah.
Because it's also in that lane of that kind of dark humor where it's almost it's ridiculous, but also very grounded.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Let's save that for a little bit later. Okay. But because I have like thoughts with that as well. And then last writer credited, we have Terry Southern, who wrote writers on, I don't know if he wrote 100%, but Easy Rider, which is one of my favorite movies from the 60s. It was one of my dad's favorite movies. It's the movie that started the independent film movement, really. It's like the new wave American films, like that movie, like with Dennis Hopper, like just ran forward with it. And then he also wrote Barbarella and The Cincinnati Kid, which is a poker movie from the 70s. And one that kind of looked interesting, I kind of wanted to watch, is an early 60s. It's called The Collector. And
I say that when I watch those too.
Yeah.
That sounded interesting.
It's I kind of want to see a 1960s psychological thriller.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about it too, and it's like for film, the 60s is a very interesting era because it's also
it's
it
just
really
post Hays Code.
Yeah, but it's also really for, especially if you're into set design, costume, if you're really into the kind of like bits and pieces of movie making, it's really cool because it's all practical special effects.
Yeah.
All of it it's like they really have to sit there and go, hey, we want to do this thing. How are we going to make How are we going to make this thing to do this thing? And even like it's really dated, but even the whole scenes with the airplane and they just have it sitting there doing this thing on a stock footage of just reel, of landscape.
Yeah.
And it's like so bad looking, but it's really endearing.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
But even like and again, like when we go back 61 years, that looked fine. People are like, wow, that plane's really flying, isn't it?
Well, that's what it is in my brain. I can sit there and appreciate and go, this was cool.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just like, I don't know, even like the old James Bonds and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. You know, I don't know. It's got this, there's something about that era that just has this, like, that's what it is. It's very movie magic.
Yeah, yeah.
In the 60s because of the costume. And even then, it wasn't costumes. A lot of it was just outfits, but everyone's in the suits.
That's
and
a costume.
But no. But I mean, like a lot, the 60s era, you know, all the men are in suits and everyone is
the madmen of it all.
Yeah, clean shaven. It's just, it has this aesthetic to it that's just very interesting.
Well, let's get into actors real quick because this is going to be quick for us. It's 1960s. I'm really not familiar with a lot of the actors. I will begin quick shout out very young James Earl Jones.
Yeah. I didn't recognize him until he started talking.
Yeah, and you hear that dark.
That deep down here. But
that was really low. Nice. I've never heard you go. Yeah, that was.
But yeah, I didn't even recognize him until he spoke because I realized I have never seen a young James Earl Jones. I've only ever seen him older.
So like what? Field of Dreams might have been like the youngest you'd ever seen.
Sandlot.
Sandlot.
I think that's the first time I ever saw him.
Wow.
I knew obviously who he was as, you know, being Darth Vader and Mufasa and everything, but seeing him, I think was probably Sandlot. It's the first time that I saw him.
Hey, Bruce.
And he's like, he's not in comparison. He's pretty young in that, but he's still old. It's that weird kind of like, you know, like. But yeah, I good looking guy.
Why didn't you just come to the front door and knock?
Yeah, he was a good looking guy.
Yeah. But yeah, so our main actor in this is Peter Sellers.
And my hat off to Peter Sellers because I didn't realize that he was 3 fucking people.
3 roles. He played the major from the British major,
the executive assistant major, or whatever,
to the general. Which was one like the easiest one for him to play because he is an English comedic actor,
and he also served in World War II, so he was able to base it off of a friend of his that's who he based the character off of.
And then he played the President of the United States, President Weller,
which I kept seeing Stanley Tucci.
I was seeing that too.
He looked like had a very Stanley Tucci vibe.
Yeah. And then he played Dr. Strangelove, which also Dr. Strangelove was a character written for the movie, was not in the book. Red alert.
And steals it.
Yeah.
Dr. Strangelove was awesome.
He feels a little out of place, but
but it's also like he's for
his
those that don't know,
final monologue scene, yeah.
But like his whole thing is that he is part of that. I can't remember what it's called.
Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, Operation Paperclip of when we took high-ranking German scientists,
German officers, and high scientists,
to take what they learned and use it basically. But he plays this Dr. Strangelove, this let's just call him
eccentric.
I was gonna say refugee. Who's secretly a Nazi, or not so, the worst kept secret that he's a Nazi, in a wheelchair with alien limb syndrome.
Yeah. Which
alien limb is this, your limb is no longer connected to you, so it does its own thing. So the whole scenes he's fighting with his own and biting it, and it's like
trying to burn it to do a heil.
Yeah, stopping it from like doing the thing, and it was just you're like, what the fuck? And yeah, he really stands out, but in a great way.
Yeah.
And like the smoking, that's what killed me because he kept doing this weird thing where it was like and once you realize that this arm has a mind of its own, it's like the alien limb was putting the cigarette in his mouth, but he didn't want the cigarette in his mouth. So then he would take it out and then he'd say something and then he'd put it back in. It was just very odd. It was really cool.
Well, okay, so Peter Sellers, who probably most famously is known as the Pink Panther, like the original one, not but he's regarded as one of the best like film comedic actors of all time. And seeing him do that like physical bit as Dr. Strangelove, and just his range of ability in this film of the three different characters, they're three distinct different characters, and he's convincing with every single fucking one of them. But his physical ability to move the alien limb syndrome and fight against it and stay focused on his target and his performance. And then when he stands up, he's, "Mein Führer, I can walk."
Well, the best is when he does the Mein Führer, but he's trying to say Mr. President, but it just has like an oopsies.
Yeah,
like,
oopsies. Like, "Mein Führer."
And everyone in the room is
he's like, "Mein Führer, I apologize. My president."
Mr. President.
It just continues on the track of his thought.
And he's like still on the mission. He's still on the Third Reich mission.
And apparently most of Peter Sellers' dialogue as a president, I don't know if it also with Dr. Strangelove, was Kubrick and Sellers improving the scene together, and then Kubrick just writing down what he was liking from what they were doing together.
Well, it's like, there's that whole era of like, Austin Powers or Nutty Professor and everything, when you had these comedic guys just doing the 8 million roles. But those were so, like, the very first Austin Powers is really funny because of Dr. Evil and Austin Powers being so different and being the same actor. Yeah. And then as the franchise progressed, it just got more and more
a little bit more ludicrous.
Yeah, and it didn't really become as funny. But this is like, each character is so distinct, but they're so level, except for obviously
Dr. Strange.
Yeah, but the other two,
just like, he's an evil scientist.
He's a mad scientist. Yeah, he's a mad Nazi scientist.
Yeah, he is literally the caricature of that character.
Yeah,
and it's not the introduction of that character.
Yeah, and then just Peter Sellers and his whole, like, even as the president, and he's like keeps talking to the ambassador at the
Russian ambassador.
Yeah, and well, not the ambassador, but the leader of the, what are they called?
Which Peter Sellers character are you talking about?
The president. I'm talking about the president when he's on the phone.
Oh, when he's talking to the not Tsar, the leader of Russia.
No, it's the leader of the, what are they called? Anyways, but he's having this kind of, he's trying to calm down a lover almost.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not trying to fight with you right now. Like,
no, he's like, well, yeah, I would call to say hello. Yeah, I get that.
My favorite line is when he goes, when he's like, basically like they can't, the last plane is still on its way.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's no need to take your feet off the ground, which means, he's yelling. So he's jumping off the ground. I don't know why, but I thought that, I've never heard that. And I was like, I like that's a good way of saying don't yell at me.
Also, just like it's a little bit funny, but
crazy story. Wild times.
You're not going to like this, but
you will not believe what happened.
We're dropping nuclear bombs on you right now, and we need to stop it from happening.
Isn't that just silly?
Isn't that funny? So funny. We're about to cause nuclear fallout.
Oh, actually, the other one is when the general, our general, our correspondents, and then the ambassador are fighting, and the president goes up, "There's no fighting in here. This is the war room."
Yeah. Speaking of him, George C. Scott plays the general. I guess he's the. I wanted to say Surgeon General.
Who?
He's the general. He's the
correspondence.
Yeah, but
he's an advisor.
Is he Secretary General?
I don't know, but he's an advisor.
The general. He's in the movie Patton, which came out in 1970. He played Patton in the Bobby. He won an Oscar for it.
Him.
Yes. And then we got Sterling Hayden, who plays the general at the military base that does the coup, runs Operation R. He is also in The Killing, which is also a Stanley Kubrick film, and he's in The Godfather. And just a quick shout out also to Slim Pickens, who was a character actor from the time. He's also in Blazing Saddles.
The premier is, by the way, that's what he was on the phone with the Russian premier.
Premier,
The Soviet premier.
Soviet premier, yeah. Slim Pickens in Blazing Saddles. Slim Pickens plays the pilot, which was originally also supposed to be Peter Sellers as well. Peter Sellers originally had 4 roles, and he was feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the Southern accent and the character of the pilot, and was kind of wanting to step out of it, and then accidentally sprained his ankle.
I had that feeling too.
Sprained his ankle, which made it hard for him to film inside of the tight space. So he left the role. But yeah, that's
which I think it's perfect.
Yeah,
I think 4 would have been too many. I think 3 is a nice number for him.
Yeah. I see why they wanted him to be that as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because then he would have the 4 main roles as Peter Sellers. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but I see him wanting to step away from it as well. Well, you ready to get into some reviews and stuff, and then we can get into what we want to talk about with it. So it's got an 8.3 on IMDb, which I thought was very fitting, and then also a 98% tomato meter rating, and then a 94% popcorn.
So
Very, very much highly regarded, great movie.
On Metacritic, this has a 97, which comes to universal acclaim with 31 positive, 1 negative.
I'm really curious what that negative is.
The one I liked the most was at TV Guide by staff not credited, who gave it 100. The film is a model of barely controlled hysteria in which the absurdity of hyper-masculine Cold War posturing becomes devastatingly funny and at the same time nightmarishly frightening in its accuracy.
I like that one, especially the hyper masculine. There's some weird sexual imagery in this that's hidden, and I found very interesting. The 2 missiles had not only, they're very phallic, but they also look like balls hanging down.
The shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just the way that it's shot. Yeah, it was very interesting. And then of course, the missile, is the drop of the, a man shooting his load.
We got it. You didn't need to. Another 100 by Roger Ebert at Chicago Sun-Times. Seen after 30 years, Dr. Strangelove seems remarkably fresh and undated, a clear-eyed, irreverent, dangerous satire, and its willingness to follow the situation to its logical conclusion, nuclear annihilation, has a purity that today's lily-livered, happy-ending technicians would probably find a way around.
Yeah. Oh, you say that little last part again?
Has a purity that today's lily-livered, happy-ending technicians would probably find a way around.
I see. Okay. I want now forever, instead of conclusion, to be conclusure. You said conclusure on accident. That was a very funny word. Yeah, I agree with that. And also
Prevert.
Prevert?
That's what the officer kept calling the English.
Did he?
Well, he wasn't saying pervert.
He's saying prevert.
Prevert. You and your prevert ways. I think he. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways,
the general that did the coup.
No, after the general kills himself.
Yeah. Oh, the other guy
that is going to arrest him or whatever. The negative then is at 30 by Philip K. Schur at LA Times. After suffering through 2 screenings of Dr. Strangelove, I would sooner drink hemlock. To me, Dr. Strangelove is an evil thing about an evil thing. You will have to make up your own mind about it.
Is that from the 60s?
It doesn't say.
Okay. Because I could see some people in the 60s being, this is anti-American.
Oh, the link actually opened.
Oh. Ooh. I like that the second one is a retrospective of 30 years. You know what I mean? And then now another 30 years.
Oh yeah, that was written in 1964.
Yep. So I could see again it being very much not well received with some people in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really is making fun of it's making fun of America, but you could literally just cut and paste it to any type of political war room, because it is really more making fun of how these people in high power that's supposed to be like protecting our lives, like make these weird loopholes for things like shit like this to happen.
I mean, yes, but I also think a really big important element is the fact that this is during the Cold War.
Yeah.
Which literally was our two countries having a giant pissing contest.
100%.
Because even then, what was that thing? The great thing he said, the ambassadors talking about trying to keep up with America, and that's why they made the Doomsday because it was cheaper.
Oh yeah.
There was the peace race, the space race, the nuclear race, like all these races that Russia and America were just like, other people too, but like
Rocky IV,
the big contenders that were really just going at it during the our Cold War with them. And it's like, so I think a very important element, and that's probably why Americans got so, because of the Red Scare. Yeah. There was this huge movement, anti-communism going on.
This is also like right after like get the Reds out of Hollywood.
And so for
McCarthyism
to be holding up a mirror to the kind of lunacy level that went at, it would probably be pretty, if you were drinking the Kool-Aid of that, would probably be really offensive. Honestly,
beginning of the blast from the past.
Better dead than red.
Yeah.
That was a motto.
Yeah.
And so it being around the Cold War and specifically with America and Russia really makes it really funny.
Yeah. And then the thing that really just like got me is how every single time they would have like what seemed like a moment of like, oh, they're taking control of the situation. The situation just had that step is now now can't be a solution. Like, oh, we figured out the code to contact the plane so they can stop bombing it. Oh, wait, that radio blew itself up because of this X, Y, and Z. It's like,
well, because we told Russia to shoot it down. So they tried to shoot it down, which fucked up the radio, but now we have the code, but now we can't call them because we told them to shoot the radio.
Yeah.
Or it ended up shooting the radio.
And then they're like, okay, well, we know where they're going. Just send all the planes to that area. And then I know we're shooting down our own boys, but it's better than causing a nuclear fallout, the doomsday device type thing. And then it cuts in like, we don't have enough fuel to get to our spot. Well, God damn it, I'm going to drop a bomb somewhere.
What's it called? Nearest
like target zone or something.
Point of opportunity.
Yeah.
Which is such a fucked up way of saying,
no.
Hey, that place is over there. If you can, just go ahead and blow it up.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
fucking
like
wild.
Hey. Oh, yeah. This movie it's.
What's the name of the guy that played the general?
George
Peter.
Oh wait, which one?
The
general in the War Room or the general?
The War Room.
George C. Scott.
George C. Scott Buck, right?
Sounds right.
I think he goes by Buck. Said he never worked with Kubrick ever again. Did you read that?
No.
Because apparently, according to him, he wanted to play the role really straight and really like serious. But Kubrick wanted him to be a little goofy.
Yeah.
So what Kubrick did, very fucking Kubrick, what Stanley did, silly Stanley, is that he's like, okay, well, let's do a take, and I want you to do it really loud and and kind of get out the jitters. And then we'll do other takes and whatever. And then just use the first ones, the ones where he was like being all kind of wacky.
Yeah.
And he was pissed about it. Buck was like, no, I didn't want to do that. So he's like, I'll never work with Kubrick ever again.
Well, I mean, that's just two stubborn motherfuckers because the actor's job is to follow the director's vision. Mm-hmm. So
I just think it's funny. He's like, yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Keep rolling.
Yeah, fuck this guy.
I'm going to get what I want. He gets what he wants.
Kubrick, just Kubrick.
Yeah, I actually didn't know what he looked like.
He's a weird looking dude.
It's like a Alan Moore Rasputin vibes, just with a haircut.
He looks like if an old owl was put into a human body.
I can see that.
Oh man. What else to say about this movie? We're only at 40 minutes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to say that this movie, the dialogue is really...
Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
The dialogue is great.
It's really great, and I kind of brought this up already.
This is a satire.
Yeah. it's really great that for 1964, that the dialogue, everything, like the performances, they feel so just like it would be today still, which I think kind of says a lot to just kind of like the aspect of how people higher in power still like act and whatnot. I can hear you chewing on that.
Sorry, I'm feeling anxious and I need something. I need something to.
But it's also, oh yeah, and because Kubrick being such the innovator he was, the way that he used the wide lens in the war room with like the negative space of everything above them and just the light on the table, and you see everybody, and it's just like it's all of these shots that should be so like feeling awkward but kind of pull you in and then give the film this weird whimsical feel to it, to where it feels kind of like a fever dream. You know what I mean?
You know what it kind of reminded me of in that way, in just the kind of vibe, it kind of reminded me of Space Force.
Yeah, I can see that.
You can see that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Where you're kind of like, you're sitting there and it's just this ridiculous conversation, but there's this part of you, it's like, this has happened.
Yeah.
These grown-ass men have sat in a room and held the lives of millions in their hands and have been bickering like children.
Well, it's like the president's like, what do you mean someone executed Plan R? Like
that conversation is hilarious.
Yeah. And he's just like, well, we could just let it drop. And
what does Buck keep saying? As you may recall.
Oh, yeah.
kind of trying to put it on him.
As you may recall, that we allowed this to be
You did
in.
sign off
you
on.
You signed off on this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's so crazy.
Well, and there's like one line I just saw. I pulled up the quotes just because, but there's one line that hits really heavy, where I will not go down in history as the greatest mass murderer since Adolf Hitler, right?
Yeah.
And then he says, perhaps it might be better, Mr. President, if you were more concerned with the American people than your image in the history books.
Right.
That line, but it's like in such a weird context where it's kind of like,
fuck you. He has a reason to be saying this. Yeah. It's like,
but that line hits really hard, but it's like weird in this movie, but it also fits. It's a really odd movie, but it was really, really cool.
Oh, dude. So fucking, yeah.
It was really funny. And it's not not haha funny. It's
Oh, I was laughing like a fucking hyena at some points in this.
You can't live in here. See everything. He'll see the big board.
the big board.
Or like on the nuclear bombing site, where they send the planes out. The sign says "Peace is our profession."
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, okay, so
they can't fight you if they're all dead.
I was thinking of if this was to be remade today, and let's say,
I think it'd be fun. Number one,
if it was done by the Coen brothers.
So I think that you could remake this today, but you'd have to get everything pretty perfect.
You'd got to have. I was thinking about Stanley Tucci has to do what Peter Sellers just did. I think Stanley Tucci could do all three of those characters. He literally could.
Well, because I'm thinking Stanley Tucci as I'm thinking, okay, like to Devil Wears Prada as the English kind of, and then
Hunger Games, Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah, and then
just Stanley Tucci as himself.
Perrier commercial.
As president, and then
San Pellegrino, whatever the fuck it is.
What's his name? God damn it. Invincible dad mustache, Jonah in Spider-Man. What's his name? Bald guy. He plays not Invincible. He plays Omni-Man.
Man.
What?
Simmons?
Yes, J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons, general in the war room.
It's like you got like so kind of many of his names, kind of sort of like little pieces of his names. You kind of got him.
That's where my brain was just like, ah.
As who? I'm sorry. I was so distracted.
The general in the war room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, stop being so fucking polite.
Yeah.
That's good. That is good.
And
Who would play the crazy general?
the coup?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. No.
No. No. Shit. I don't know. That's a good one.
That's a good one. We'll think about it.
But yeah.
That's a fun recasting.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. This movie was. I'm really happy we watched this.
I am too. I liked this a lot more than Brazil.
I did too. 100%. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm trying to think of why. Because we picked both of these. Why did we just picked older movies that had a similar kind of satirical dystopian.
That wasn't even really the thought process for me. It was two movies that are regarded as two of the most influential movies
that we probably wouldn't have watched if it wasn't for
we
this.
have never watched that as like, you know, cinephiles we should have.
Yeah, on the list of 100 movies to see before you die.
Exactly. And it was like, I think you brought up Brazil.
I did, yeah.
And I had just read something about Dr. Strangelove. I was like, you know what? I've never watched Dr. Strangelove.
Well, it's also Dr. Strangelove has also been always up there with like Eraserhead. I've always just been curious because it's one of those like the cowboy pilot going down on the bomb. I was like, I from pop culture, I know
that's
that
an
reference.
Iconic.
Never knew
it was from this movie.
Yeah, I never knew what it was from, and honestly, never really even just thought about it because also it's one of those things you've seen it so many times.
It's stock image. It's stock footage.
Yeah, at this point, it's like you just accept that that's what's. You're like, oh, I've seen that before, so you just kind of go with it. I'm sure the first time you're like, what the hell, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, and also that I really enjoyed it because I've always been kind of a history person too, and I've always found the Cold War very, very interesting.
Well, because it was the first time we had a war that was a quiet war.
Yeah. There were conflicts. They just were all. Shh.
What do you mean?
Like the CIA and what are they called?
What are you talking about? FBI?
The Ruskies. They're secret. The KGB.
Yeah, the KGB.
I was like, what? I kept wanting to call.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it's a quiet war.
Yeah, but like
as opposed to like we're shooting guns. It's like it's all.
It wasn't an all-out war.
Yeah,
but the Bay of Pigs. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on. And the last night was like the Bay of Pigs. Sorry, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, Jesus,
popped in my head. But I think it's just such an interesting period, like movies that, like The Majestic. The Majestic's about the Cold War.
100%.
You kind of forget about that because it's in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it's the
Red Scare.
Yeah, it's the Red Scare. It's McCarthyism at that point.
Yeah, but it's like this thing it's in that period of time that we've talked about before, from the 20s going up all the way until, let's say, the 70s, where there's these really big things that are happening kind of back to back, which it kind of feels like that way now too, which we kind of talked about. Yeah. But it's like, you had the two world wars and you're going into
Vietnam.
And then you have the civil rights movement.
Well, I guess before Vietnam, it was the Red Scare.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, but you have all these really very distinct moments in time of things going on. Some of them happening
on top of
each other.
Yeah.
And I just found it's just the Cold War is just so weird because it is such a superpowers pissing contest.
Yeah.
That I only know from the American that I am, where a lot of our population was like, hoorah, like, let's go. Which now would be very like now, and today's climate is very much like sit down and shut up.
The patriotism is like calmed down. Like back in the 50s,
get them.
It was the patriotism was like the thing,
Yeah, and it's just like it's a very interesting little bubble to look at.
There's just a lot more of like a discourse and a dialogue between like ultra problematic patriotism and then like, being a patriot because, I respect the, the values that our country, the freedoms that we have, I guess that's the way to put it, we're getting taken away. But shit, where did my brain go? I just had a thought. An interesting thing with all that is like you pointed out very quickly. It's just like the ongoing cycle of what these men in power will continue to do as well is now that the doomsday device has been set off, and now it's going into, well, now we got to hide in mine shafts, and it's going into Fallout, the Fallout, the joke of it all. But now it's going to be a race of who can have the best Fallout shelters.
Well, and then Buck,
yeah.
And then Buck literally says it's a mine gap, which is a joke about the Cold War and the missile gap.
Yeah.
Which was this weird pissing contest of who's going to have the most nukes. We need to get our hands on the most nukes.
Who's going to have the most shelters?
Yeah, and I just was like, and it was hilarious. It was a hilarious way to end the movie.
Yeah.
And then I heard that there was talk about them getting into a big pie fight.
Yeah, he
scrapped that because it was too farcy, not satirical anymore.
He realized after filming it that it didn't fit, that that the scene itself was more of a farce, and what he had created was a satire.
And then also there's a line that they had to cut.
Oh.
Because the president gets hit with a pie.
Oh,
and then one of them says something like, "Oh no, our president's been hit. So young and in his prime." They're like, because again, well, even when he's reading the whole list that the soldiers have in their little travel kit, like their survival kit, the line is actually, "You could have so much fun in Dallas with this."
Oh,
but
yeah,
so they changed it. They dubbed it over with Vegas.
Yeah,
but apparently he said Dallas because he's from Dallas.
Yep.
He's like, "Hurrah!"
3 prophylactics, 100 rubles.
yeah, $100 in gold. But yeah, the fact that it came full circle was a genius move, because it was again, that was the final jab at this is that they were
the ridiculousness of what our political leaders are doing right now.
It's because of the fact that we're in this, like, we basically, because of this whole thing, started the destruction of the planet for 100 years, or at least humankind and animal kind for 100 years. And now we're just going to restart the thing.
And with the influence from the German scientist being like, well, like, how are we going to choose who goes into these shelters? Oh, we have computers that can just put this in.
Make a list
of like all the highest valued people.
It's a great plan.
And then, for having repopulating the world, we just got to make sure we have 10 women to every one man. And the general being like, well, for a monogamous thing, for the women, like Jesus Christ, this is fucking crazy.
What was it called?
What?
I can't remember what Hitler's thing was.
Oh.
The terminology.
Like when he was like killing everyone that wasn't like pure or whatever?
Yeah, the great plan, the
big beautiful plan. The big beautiful bill.
I'm totally blanking on what he called it.
Oh, God.
What his term, the Third Reich's thesis.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but that's basically what he's doing. What Dr. Strangelove is saying is Hitler's thesis
in a roundabout way.
Yeah. And then following with and Elon Musk touching his heart to everyone.
His Roman salute.
And everyone's like, yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, right there, it's so saying just like how quickly people in power like that can just be influenced by a fascist idea.
And but also you have to keep into the fact that now this whole situation has kickstarted survival mode.
Yes. Yeah.
The little lizard brain is now, so that is also part of it. Because a lot, people do a lot of things to just survive. So,
do you feel like this movie is a good reflection of today? Still?
Only in the yes and no, because you're also talking about when this is pre-internet.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So obviously, like, let's say you were to remake this movie, but to now.
Oh yeah. What are all the technological change, like, fallouts that would have to happen to make sure that you couldn't contact this plane?
Yeah, like it would be something like the president would be sitting there, and especially with good old what's his butt now, you could have a whole scene where the president's sitting there and they're like talking to him, give him all like really serious, give him all the breakdowns, and they look over and he's on his phone.
Yeah.
And they're like, Mr. President, and he's like, huh, what? And you're like, sir, and he's like, sorry, I was sending a tweet, and then he's sitting there and they all go, what? like from the war room.
There's supposed to be no phones in the war room.
He's tweeting about what's happening in the war room, like shit like that. You could probably make it really funny.
Yeah.
And what made me think of that was Space Force, because Space Force is kind of that.
Yeah, I'm sure the people that created Space Force this is probably one of their favorite movies, you know?
Yeah, and I think that you could do it now. And this, again, really makes me want to watch the, I can't remember what it's called, but that Stalin one.
Oh,
with like George Clooney and like it's a bunch of people and Stalin dies and it's all about them trying to like take over.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I gotta figure out what that movie's called and watch it, because that just sounds so up my alley, because I love this kind of shit. But I think in elements, but I do think, you know, I mean, like David Bowie said, you know, the internet is an alien life form.
Oh yeah,
and changed the very structure of our social climate. In such a way that it's like, yeah, there is a lot of truth still to this, but the internet being a player and an entity now makes it a wee bit different.
Very different, very, very different. Yeah,
but it's still really, it's a fun movie.
No, this movie's great.
Yeah,
and especially if you love movies, I think you would really like this movie in a big way.
Yeah,
it's a piece of cinematic history that like holds very strong. Yeah, like Casablanca is hard to watch, I feel. You know?
Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind is a piece of garbage. I really do not like Gone with the Wind. I think Gone with the Wind is actually more problematic than it is anything else.
I've actually never seen it and refused to, because I have no interest. I probably should though. That's that list. That's on that list. It's one of those movies that's renowned and super famous. And
watch Casablanca. Just watch Casablanca.
Why?
Because it's better, and it did the same.
But there's still two different movies. We do a movie review podcast. I should be able to say I've seen Gone with the Wind. No.
Watch the history of the world. No.
What do you want to give it?
I feel like a 5 in all honesty, because
I mean, I would give it a 5 just because of how old it is, and it still stands up, and it's
100%,
still
100%. That's what it is. I see why it is one of, like I said earlier, it's one of the most influential movies of all time. For it being 61 years old, it's still, even like the 60s effects, like you were talking about, the flying and the scenery just kind of moving underneath, like whatever, you know, the B-roll film or whatever. It's acted so well. Its script is so crisp and so clean. It is a perfect movie. I don't think there's anything actually really wrong with this movie. I couldn't tell you a damn thing.
Well, and it's like that last review saying it's an evil thing about an evil thing, you know.
It is an evil thing about an evil thing.
But that's the point of the movie.
Yeah.
Because this was also the nuclear, the atom, the hydrogen atom bomb, those things being created is probably one of the worst things that's ever happened on the face of this planet.
Yeah.
All human related.
Yeah.
The fact of having and my big thing with that too is like having this thing that is so destructive, but then also the fallout of it, where it is literally, not only is it something that can kill millions within an instant, but it also cripples the earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is also this huge planet.
Oh yeah, it was like cobalt something.
Yeah, when they're talking about the shelf life of the radio, you know, the radioactivity, I just think that it is in itself a very ugly thing.
Yeah.
And so the movie, if you're going to do a movie about an ugly thing, the movie needs to be a little bit ugly. Mm-hmm. You know? Otherwise, you're not really doing the history of whatever topic, you know, whatever ugly topic you want to, bad topic, evil topic you want to talk about. If you're not doing it in a way to
point out the flaws,
point out the monster inside of it, then you're not doing justice to the people that were affected by the thing.
Yeah, and you have to really like pull out the exaggerated forms of these things,
and the fact that they were able to do that and make it ugly, but then still make it funny and not a in a way.
Yeah. Panic inducing.
Yeah, anxiety inducing, because it's like it's very morbid and but it is very funny. And in a very sad sad way.
In a very sad way because it feels real.
Because it feels real, and it's like they nailed it, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what you need to do, because it could have gone one of two ways. It could have been just very serious, and in this movie about a war room, but I don't think it would have had the same impact.
Did you hear that Kubrick was actually contemplating a sequel?
I did read that.
The
son of Dr. Strangelove.
Something like that. I didn't get like any premise or anything, but he wanted to work on a sequel, and he wanted Terry Gilliam
To direct it.
And Terry Gilliam didn't know about that until after
he passed
away.
And he was like, God damn, I would have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called like The Son of Dr. Strangelove, and it was going to be taking place in the society.
Inside
It was
yeah.
Fallout. It was going to be Vault Strangelove.
All right.
Vault 999.
A 5.
All right, 5.
That's crazy for coming out in 1964.
Mm-hmm. We really got to go through and figure out our 5s because there's
not
Moonlight.
many. This, Fury
Mad
Road,
Max.
Moonlight.
I think that might be it.
There might be one more somewhere.
Did you want to commit to what I talked about last week, or do you want to talk about it?
I don't remember what you talked about last week.
Okay, then we'll talk about it later. All right, let's pull up our actors for next week.
Yeah.
Michelle Williams and Ian McKellen.
You don't like Michelle Williams, do you?
Nope. No, but I was trying to think of the Marvel thing. Yeah, we shouldn't do that. Start over.
Oh, yeah. That's actually, because of Venom.
Mm-hmm. Technically being
Venom.
Natalie Portman to Jennifer Lopez.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys.
So thank you for listening. That was episode 249 of Dr. Strangelove, which we gave a 5 out of 5. Our 2 connecting stars are Natalie Portman to Jennifer Lopez. So if you think of anything, a cool connection between the two of those, go ahead and just put it in the comments. Go ahead and follow us on, we don't know what we're doing next week. We're going to talk about it for a second. So just follow us on Instagram and Facebook. On there are all of our promos so you can see what's coming up. And then following that, we'll also take you to our link tree. And on our link tree is where we put everything, whether it be Apple, YouTube, Spotify. Yeah. So go ahead and just
links
follow
to
us.
everything. It's a tree that links you.
Yeah. Like, subscribe so you get updates on when new episodes are coming out. And we will just talk to you next week.
Yeah.
This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's Mixtape.